Hey guys, Mike here, The Fresh Rinse, and a rare opportunity on a weekend, in fact, the Lord's Day on a Sunday, on the way home from church, to show you how I bid both residential and commercial work, primarily residential work. And I'm here on location at a semi-commercial project that I've been asked to bid, and I've been asked to bid this because I won the house wash bid for the gentleman who owns this facility and the one right beside of it. So we're going to see this here in just a moment and then drive over and see the other building. Now let me go on record and say that I don't think that there is a wrong way to bid residential work in particular. There are just paths that get us to the price that we are most comfortable with for our budget, for our skill level, for our overhead, so forth and so on. So I want to go on record and say that I don't think that your method, your practice is wrong. There are just different ways and sometimes better ways to do things. My method is probably a little bit unorthodox. I don't think most people do it the way that I do it, which tells me that it's probably not the best way. In fact, I'll go on record and say that I'm quite certain that my method is not the best way. It's just the way that I feel comfortable now 9 years into the business, and I've always done it this way. It's just the way that I feel comfortable bidding work. I close between 60 and 70% of the bids that I give. That tells me that I'm right there where I need to be in terms of price. I'm definitely not the $99 guy, and I know that I'm not the most expensive. In fact, I had a conversation recently with one of the guys in our area who is somewhat notorious for being expensive, though he doesn't necessarily do a lot of work. And we turned out I was just a little bit less than him. So I feel good about my prices. If I get below 60% closing rate, and you got to really keep up with that or else you'll not know. But when I get below 60%, it's an indication that I might need to lower my price, like it's just not working. If I get above 70%, then I probably need to raise my prices a little bit because inflation is raising and people understand that, and that 60 to 70% nationally is a good standard for knowing that you have a proper closing rate. At least that's what those in the know tell me, and they probably know more about it than I do. I like the way that my friend Al up in Springboro, Dayton way, he and I had breakfast recently, and he was telling me that he actually looks at a home, maybe over the phone he will talk to the person, and he will say, well, I have a standard price for each side of the home. And if you are wanting the whole house washed, then I will knock off. And he told me the number, and I can't remember what it is. What I do remember is that our price, our finished price, was almost the same. I mean, I was like, well, that's very interesting. So that tells me, again, there aren't necessarily wrong ways or right ways to do it, just better ways, as long as we're coming in a to the same destination. Then what does it really matter how we get there? So I got this opportunity to quote these two commercial buildings last night. So I was eating at a restaurant last night by myself, and I took the opportunity on my phone to post to about 40 community groups in our area. These are the free Facebook yard sale community neighborhood pages. And as it happens from time to time, before I was even finished posting to these 40 groups, someone texts me and said, I would like to have a quote. And so what I do is, let me digress for just a moment. I have a plethora of ads that I have created. Many of you have purchased those ads. This is not a sales pitch for those ads. And so I will post one of my ads with the heading up in the description of something like, Mike's Pressure Washing is your hometown professional. Call, text, or private message for your free instant quote. Something like that. And before I was even finished, someone texts me and says, I would like a free quote. So I have a copy and paste in my phone, and I just copied and pasted these 2 paragraphs, very simple, just outlining what I do with the price. And he came back and he said, sounds good, when can we schedule it? Now, I should also tell you that I asked for his address so I could go on there and see if his home was an above average size. 2,000 to 2,400 square feet is probably average in our area for a 2-story home. And I was professional, I was prompt, I answered his questions, and he felt comfortable with that. Now here's the thing. I've heard some of you say in videos, and I've seen on some Facebook posts, guys say, and I quote, I try to get as much as I possibly can. Now, I'm not suggesting that that is a poor business practice. It could be that what you mean when you say that is, I try to get the house wash, I try to get the roof wash, I try to get the concrete, I try to get the windows, I try to get the gutters, and that's perfectly fine. At the same time, the reason I wash so many houses isn't because of my price, but it's because I don't try to gouge them for all that they have. My prices are in line with the demographic makeup of our area, Cincinnati to Dayton, and I know now, 9 years in, about what people expect. And I give them that number, and it's rare that I ever leave money on the table. And then when I get there, I can upsell them. I can many times see their concrete and their roof from Google Earth, and I can upsell them over the phone, what have you, and it just works out for me. But because this man trusted me, before I left the dinner table, he texted me again and says, hey, I have 2 commercial buildings. Would you mind going by and giving a quote? Or can you give me a quote for those? And I said, yep, on my way home from church. They're probably 5 minutes from church. I will quote those buildings. So it's more than likely that I will get both of these buildings. Why? Because I've already got his house wash, and he trusts me, and he just feels good about it. So I feel good about it. So it's rare that I leave money on the table. There is the possibility, however, with my strategy, that I could get to a home and discover that there are elements that I did not know about because I didn't do an in-person estimate. So my way is not the best way. It's just the way that I am most comfortable with. Again, I land 60 to 70% of all the bids that I give, which I'm to understand is a really good place to be. Now let me share with you how I would do it over the phone. Nancy calls, Mike, I saw your ad, I saw your sign, I saw your truck, I saw your Google page. Can you give me a quote for my house? Sure can, Nancy. And then I will ask Nancy, so real quick, Nancy, can I get your address and I can take a look at your home? And so I'll say, so Nancy, I see here that your home falls right into line with my average house wash price, which is this. 60 to 70% of the time, Nancy will say, all right, let's do it. Fair enough. And I show up and I wash her home. And then I give her the goodie bag, and Nancy's happy, and I'll wash it again next year or in 2 years or 3 years. And that's just the way that I do it. So let's take a real quick look at this project. Let me turn this around. So this is a daycare, maybe after school type of facility. And there are 2 of these. We'll go across the street here in a moment and see. I already see that there's a water spigot right over there and probably one on the other side. So this building is 1 story, which is this one little entrance that's a little bit higher. All of this is fully accessible from the ground. And I can tell that this is probably 2 to 3 times larger than the average 1-story home. So what I'll do is I will determine the size here in relation to the average 1-story home, and then I will multiply that for how much larger that it is. So this is about 2, maybe 3 times larger. So the price will be 2, maybe 3 times higher than the average one-story home. The exception being is that this being a commercial job means that I'm probably going to have to do this on a weekend. So the price is going to go up some. But I do see water spigots, so I don't have to bring water. And this whole building is going to take me less than 2 hours. Let's go next door and I'll show you the other building. So as we pull out here on the main drag, you can see this is the second building, and it looks almost identical to the first building that we saw just a moment ago. And I can see that it has the same water spigot, and it's pretty much the same building. So again, another 2 hours or so to wash this building. And I will also price the concrete, and I will price the roof. And I will send all of that to him via text. I have yet to talk to this gentleman. I will also price the play sets and maybe this little yard barn right here. It doesn't have a lot of concrete, but it does have some, as we can see right here and right here. And then we have more play sets. So I will price that in terms of sanitation for the students, or the children rather. All right, so when I get home, I will send him a text and I will give him the price itemized for each one. And then I am 99% confident that I will get this, because he already feels good about the house washing price, and he's grateful that he did not have to meet with me. Who wants to meet with this? My dog doesn't want to meet with this. But convenience, people are all about convenience. So that's why I don't do in-person estimates. One, because it's inconvenient to my time. And secondly, it's inconvenient to their time. Do I leave money on the table? Sometimes, but it's rare. All right, that was a little bit of a long video. Apologize for the length of that. You have questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll try to do an update video as I can. My name is Mike. They call me the Fresh Rinse, and I'm out.